The war has finally begun. The line has been drawn, the units have been spread out, and the two smartest characters in Kingdom are finally facing off on the battlefield. This has me unbelievably hyped right now. Because if there is one thing I love about Kingdom that really got me pumped when I was reading this manga, when I was catching up, is seeing how the generals outsmart each other, especially in combat. I mean, for many chapters now, they have been trying to outthink each other, and they were already at war with each other's minds, playing mental battles. But now, they're taking it to the battlefield, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen, whose tactics are superior. We have seen so many strategies / tactics from Riboku, and we have seen some from Otsun as well. I'm very curious to see who will come on top and who has the superior tactics. Now, I do want to point out something in this chapter that was very interesting to me, was how both of these generals are just so great at what they do, and how they're just at a whole new level that we really haven't witnessed much before. The way the chapter opens up and showing how similar these two are in the terms of how they think and how they are going to approach the battlefield was so similar. They had very similar responses to people that were talking to them and how they were thinking, how they were having a mental battle inside their head, how they were sending their units inside their head to certain places on the battlefield and flanking or whatever. It was just very impressive to see the first part of this chapter, how these two are very similar. They're at the same level of skill, and really what it comes down to is just small errors. Whoever makes the first error is what's probably going to happen, who is going to fall and lose. So that's what this is really going to come down to. And also it's going to come down to not just these two, but also the troops. For instance, the people in their army that are able to make quick decisions and do things that neither of them would probably expect. So I'm excited to see how this is handled, because this has been hyped up for so many chapters now, and it is finally happening. Riboku versus Otsun. I am, oh my god, my hype. My fucking hype. Okay, so with that being pushed a little bit to the side, let us talk about what is actually happening in terms of formation. So the formations are very, very interesting, because number one, we have it to where Otsun does something very peculiar. He does something that really stands out compared to Riboku's army. If you look at Riboku's army, it's very well spread out. You have 30,000 units on each side, the left and right wing, and then in the direct middle you have like 60,000. It's a perfect split of units. It's fine. It looks natural and normal. But if you look at, Otsun's, overall army, he has like 5,000 on his left wing, he has 25,000 on his right wing, and then he has 58,000 in his main center army. And it's just very weird how the numbers are just so off. But what really stands out is Moten's army of just 5,000 up against 30,000. 30,000 versus 5,000. Like, yo, what the hell? Like, okay, look, if we know anything when it comes to Kingdom, numbers are important, yes, but it doesn't always decide things. But still, they are still important in battle. But 5,000 men versus 30,000 men, like, that's ridiculous. Like, that is ridiculous odds to go up against. Like, that is a massive force to have Moten encounter in fight. And when I was looking at, like, I stared at the big panel, looking at the entire battlefield, both armies, and was just looking at what could Otsun be thinking? Why is he doing this? Why is he, looks like he's throwing Moten under the bus. That's what it looks like. Why is he doing this? Well, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about previous things we have seen in Kingdom, and I was thinking, like, wait a minute. What if Otsun wants Moten, since he said he was going to go in first, he's going to get first blood, what if he wants him to charge up the left wing towards, Riboku's right wing, charge up as far as he can, and then when he fights him back a little bit, as Otsun is charging up the center, and while the right wing is having their fight as well, basically, Otsun, he moves up his entire army to a certain point. And then, if you look closely on the left, there's a bunch of trees and mountains and stuff like hills. And so, most likely what's going on here is that Oten's going to move up his main center army. He's going to have a big battle in the center with Riboku, and you're going to have it to where Moten, he's going up the left flank. And then as he pushes really far in enemy territory, he's going to go on the back burner and start retreating. And as he's retreating, I could see it to where as the enemy army chases after them, you're going to probably have someone like, Shin's unit come around through the forest and the trees and mountains and stuff, since they're kind of a smaller unit, to go around and probably flank right into the army that's chasing after Moten. I could see that happening. I mean, look at the way the map is. You can definitely see something like that happening, the way the trees and the mountains are set, and along with how much, I guess, area that Moten could cover, and how he could fall back real quickly, and then having, another part of the army flank the enemy and take them out. I can easily see something like this being done. So, from what's going on here, Moten is very important. Even though he has 5,000 soldiers, it's mainly an appearance. It's mainly to catch the enemy off guard. It's a very important role he has right now, because he needs to probably charge up, then back off, and then someone from the other army, like Onsen's main army, is going to have to flank around and probably attack them. That's probably what's going to have to happen. Now, on the other side, let's look at the right wing. The right wing looks very interesting as well, because let's just say the left wing goes fine. We also have to worry about the right wing. The right wing is very, very important. It's a very important part of the battlefield if you look very closely, the way it's designed, and how there's a bunch of forest and mountains between the right wing of Onsen and then the left wing of Riboku. There's a lot of forest and mountains, and so that would mean that whoever wins that little dispute will have a good advantage, because they can get behind the enemy army and then just start hitting them in the ass. And I could see that happening, whoever wins that exchange. But also the same thing could be said for, what's going over on the left wing as well, and Riboku's right wing. That also is very important, because Moten has to hold off 30,000 people. If he doesn't hold off 30,000 people, some of that army is going to go over and attack Onsen. So that's not good at all either. But then, let's look at the center as well. What's very peculiar about this entire setup, Onsen is in the front. He is front and center of the army. That's, in a way, very dangerous. Everything we have seen from Kingdom, usually the generals and all that, they're always in the back. Like, they're, either in the center or in the back of the line. And we have seen a lot of cases in Kingdom to where our characters have had to flank around and all that, and they attack straight in the ass, and then they just go straight through like an arrow throughout the entire army. And we have seen this. And that is not the case here. Onsen's right front and center, so that means, when the battle starts, he is right there. And everything we know from Onsen, he's not a dumbass. He's not a dumb dude. He's very smart. He knows what he's doing. He clearly shows that with his tactics. So, what I'm assuming is going on here is most likely he is using himself as bait. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like Onsen is actually using himself as bait, because he's keeping the entire center army focused on him. That would mean that the center army that's from Riboku's side most likely won't navigate and try to go around and attack on the sides or whatever, or go in the back. Most likely they will want to just attack in the front. And remember this, Riboku is very smart too, so he might realize this, but Onsen, as we know, as long as he can keep people in his fields of vision and understand what's going on around him, most likely he can perceive and understand what is going on. So I could see why he might want to be in the front, is because then he won't have any surprise attacks. If he has all the enemies just charging right at the front and all that, he'll know they're coming, because he's right there. I mean, he's right there out in the open, so he'll see them coming, and he'll know how to predict and react, and I can see him, constantly, attacking back, because he's right there and he'll know how to fight back. He could possibly shift back into his formation into the center as they continue to charge in, or he could continuously push out and all that, make some form of arrow towards the enemy army that is Riboku's. So there's a lot of things that can happen here, and I'm really curious on how this is going to be handled and who is going to come out on top. Like I said, all points of this battlefield are very important, but I really believe that the 5,000 men, Moten's 5,000 men, is probably the most important part of the battlefield right now. Because it seems like if something goes wrong there, that's not good, because 30,000 men are going to attack straight from the side, and I feel like Onsen's going to have to push up. He's definitely going to have to push up pretty far into enemy territory, and we also got to remember this as well. Riboku, he is on a timer. He is. Remember what the king said to him. You better not let Gyo fall, or you will die, and I will kill all of your retainers. I'll kill everyone that follows you. So basically, Riboku, he's on a timer right now. If he fucks up, he's dead. So he does not have time to waste. He doesn't have time to sit there and fight for days, because Gyo doesn't have days. It definitely does not. Yes, Kanki's in a little bit of a situation, but I feel like that overall will be fine. The main point is that Gyo doesn't have a few days, and Riboku most likely is very aware of this because of the situation with all the civilians inside of there. So he can't afford to have a long battle. It needs to end quickly, and I feel like that's what's going on here. You have it to where Onsen, he realizes this, and he's probably going to just really put some pressure on the army front lines and just shove up Riboku's army backwards to where they can't push up, and which in turn causes where they get restless and they need to go in. And I could see that being the main case here. The other generals playing a big part, maybe getting very impatient and then charging in because of what's happening. Maybe they don't want to get their head cut off by the king because what the king said. So I can see some of the generals maybe on Moten's side getting impatient, chasing after him because they don't have time to waste, and then they get flanked, like Shin comes in, flanks them, and kills their ass. That might happen there. Or the same could be said for the other wing too. Maybe Shin will flank them, depending on how Moten's side goes too. So, like I said, a lot of things going on here. Really excited about to see how that is handled. So let's talk about Kanki's, situation before I kind of conclude this video. So Kanki, his army is not having a good time as well. I mean, it's probably not as bad as what's going on with Osen or Yotamwa and all that, but overall, Kanki's situation is pretty bad, because he has a very crucial part and a role to play right now. Even though he's not getting slammed with, like, a massive, massive army, he still has a very important role, because he has to make sure Gyo falls. If Gyo falls, then they have resources, they have more fuel, and then they can set up a supply line and all that, and Yotamwa is very important too, because that supply line will be set up if that is taken as well. So, I mean, there's just a lot of importance here. I mean, even if, okay, let's just say this, even if Osen wins the battlefield where he's at, but if Yotamwa fails, that's not good, because automatically that means that they're going to get surrounded, they don't have a supply line, and then pressure is going to be put on Kanki, he's going to be fighting back and all that, and then all of a sudden once that falls, Oten, he's going to be completely surrounded. He won't have anywhere to go. So, there is a lot of pressure put on right now on Kanki, but also Yotamwa, because if those two lines fall, that's GG. GG right then and there. When Onsen said that the most important battlefield might be where he's at, I honestly think he was probably lying, because I feel like Yotamwa's is the most important because of the situation of that. And I feel like that was the whole purpose of this. Onsen did this, in fact, because he wanted to focus Riboku's attention over there. Because if he focused on Yotamwa, that wouldn't have been good, because that would have meant that there would have been no potential escape if that battlefield was lost. So I feel like that's why he handled it like he did. So yeah, Kanki, bad situation, but I feel like he'll be okay. I just feel like what it really falls down to is most likely Yotamwa and how that fight goes down. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.